Maybe instead of using Outlook on the web in Office 365, you use the desktop app of Outlook in Windows 10. If that's the case, keep in mind there are many similar features between the desktop app and the web version, but the desktop app does include several more tools and functions that will help keep you organized and manage your mail throughout the entire year. Let's take a look at some of these tools. So you're using the desktop app of Outlook, but have you switched to the focused view of your inbox? If you haven't, let me give you a few reasons why you might want to consider switching over to the focused view. When you're switched into the focused view, you will see two tabs, Focused and Other. Essentially, what Microsoft does is it goes through your email, and emails that you don't typically open or emails that Microsoft considers clutter will go into Other. All other emails that are important that you do regularly open go into your focused box. Now, as I mentioned, you do have to be careful. If you're getting emails from important individuals within ECSD, but you are ignoring those emails and not opening them, over time, Microsoft may consider those emails clutter and move them to Other. You can always change the rules for an email. So for example, for Casey Bell's posts from Shake Up Learning, I could right-click on this mail message and select Always Move to Focused. By doing so, I'm creating a rule that says when I get an email from Casey Bell's Shake Up Learning, I will actually receive that in Focused instead of in Other. It really doesn't take Microsoft long to learn your reading patterns with your email. And soon you will notice that the majority of your clutter is not coming to your focused inbox, but rather going to your Other. Another way of staying organized in Outlook is by creating folders. Notice if I look at the far left pane of Outlook on my desktop, I can see folders. I see a favorite section. Let's just collapse that. And I see a section with my name. Now I can easily create a folder by right-clicking, let's say on my name, for example, and selecting New Folder. We'll go ahead and give that folder a name. And that folder should be placed in the list of folders in alphabetical order. So there's that new folder here. Now, that folder is currently not a favorite folder, so it's not going to appear up top in my list of favorites. However, I can make this a favorited folder by simply right-clicking on the folder and selecting Show in Favorites. All right, let's expand that favorites folder list again. And let's just scroll down to the bottom. There's that new folder that I just favorited. Let's go back to my inbox. So I'm just going to scroll up. It is a folder in my favorites list. And I'm going to go ahead and move an email from my inbox into one of these folders. This is how I keep track of important messages. So I could take this particular email here, and I could simply click on it and drag it and highlight the folder that I want to move it into. I could also click on the message, select Move here in the toolbar, and find the folder in my list. If I don't see the folder in my list, I can always check Other Folder to view all of the folders that I have. So I'm looking for Microsoft. There it is right there. I'll select it and click OK. And that message has now been moved to my Microsoft folder. There it is at the very top. Let's go back to my inbox again. A couple of other ways of keeping track of important messages in Outlook on desktop includes categorizing the message as well as adding a flag. Let's start with categories. So I can select a message and I can categorize it by coming up here to categories in the toolbar. I click on the drop down and I can select from a category I've already created. Now, in Outlook on the desktop, right here under the search toolbar where it says by date, that's the current view of my focused inbox. I can select that drop-down arrow and I can choose to arrange my email by my categories. I'm going to switch that view back to date, and let's take a look at adding flags. So again, I'm going to select an email. I can either come up to the flag in the toolbar or tool ribbon up here at the top of the screen, or when I hover over that mail message, I can click on the shadowed flag. If I right-click on that flag, I can select when I'd like to follow up on this message. So for example, I could say tomorrow. I could also right-click and select Add a Reminder. Notice that I'm setting the flag to follow up on tomorrow's date. I want Outlook to send me a reminder, so I select the date, in this case tomorrow, and I'm going to go ahead and say remind me at 9 a.m. At 9 a.m. I should now get a reminder about this particular email. Let's take a look at some of the other options for flags. So I've selected an email and I click on the flag, again either in the toolbar or I can right click on that flag, again to see all the options that I have. So I've shown you how I can follow up. I chose tomorrow, but I could have chosen this week or next week, or even set a custom date. I can add reminders, which I did. And once I'm finished reviewing this particular email, and I no longer need the flag, I could mark it as complete, and then I could clear the flag. Now, creating a flag just gives me one more layer which I can filter when I'm searching. So for example, I can, in the search bar, click on the drop arrow, or in the search tools, click search, and then click flagged. This will search my email inbox for all messages that have been flagged. Let's just clear that search and go back to my inbox. Another way of keeping your email organized within Outlook on the desktop is by creating rules. Now, before I create a rule, did you know that you can create rules for messages received in your inbox, but you can also create rules for specific folders you have created? Let's start with creating a rule for a message in my inbox. So I receive messages occasionally from Martha Jez, and she's one of my Microsoft contacts. I'm going to come up here to rules, and we're going to say always move messages from Martha Jez. So essentially we're going to create a rule and we're going to say that we want her messages moved to that Microsoft folder. So I find my Microsoft folder and I click OK. Microsoft Outlook is going to run that rule. So essentially it's going to search my inbox for all the messages that I've received from that Microsoft contact, and it's going to move those messages into that Microsoft folder. There is one of the messages moved into my Microsoft folder. So you could create rules for different people that you frequently contact or frequently are in contact with. And you could have their emails always moved into specific folders. That way you're not having to go through your email and manually move their emails into folders. You can also assign policies for different folders. For instance, retention policies. You could say only keep emails for 1 month and then delete after that 1 month period, or keep emails for 6 months. You can set specific folder policies, and in assign policy, you can view items that are expiring soon. Now, possibly one of the coolest ways to keep track of important emails, all related to a specific topic, is you can actually send an individual email directly to a OneNote notebook. So you could set up a OneNote notebook for emails, and you could simply select the message in your Outlook and click the OneNote icon here in the Tools ribbon and select the notebook and even the section where you'd like that email sent to. Notice that you can even set it so that Outlook always sends email notes to that specific location. Or you can leave that box unchecked so that each time you decide to send a message to OneNote, you have to choose which notebook and which section you wish to send that note to. All you have to do now is click OK, and that email opens up in this section of your OneNote notebook. Let's go back to Outlook on the desktop. All right, I'm just going to collapse my favorites here in the far left. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and I want you to notice that below those folders that I've created, I can also view my Microsoft groups. So I can see all of my groups. This is an expanded view. I can always click less to see just a few. Let me select one of these groups. Go. And you'll notice inside I can see conversations that have been happening in the group. I also have access to the group or team's calendar, files in the SharePoint document library, the team's OneNote notebook, and I can create new email to send to that particular team or group. Just close that. Did you know that from Outlook on the desktop, you can even create new groups just as you can in Outlook on the web? Here in the Tools ribbon, you will see New Group. You give that group a name and a custom email address will be created. You could add a description. Select the privacy for the group. Is it going to be public? Or is it going to remain private where only members who are added can see? You can go ahead and click on Create to create that group. Once that group is created, you'll be able to add members. And again, you can always add members outside of our district, outside of ECSD, by adding them as guests to the group. I know we've covered a lot in this video, but I want to show you one more tool. And that is the assistive tech built into Outlook. So no, you do not have access to Immersive Reader in Outlook on the desktop. However, Microsoft hasn't left you hanging. I'm going to find an email. Here we go. And I want you to notice that in the Tools ribbon, you have a button for Read Aloud. Let's click it.
Good morning, guys. Hopefully your summer is going great. I'm out here in Toronto.
So as you can see, by clicking Read Aloud, you can have mail messages read aloud to you to support you in receiving email and even sending emails to other people. You do have some settings that you can adjust, and Read Aloud is frequently updating and improving. Hopefully the tools that I have shown you in this video today will help you stay organized throughout the year.